The 7th of May 1955, that was the last time Newcastle United won a trophy, and they're looking to get the first one of this new era with new ownership in the Carabao Cup final, otherwise known as other names that we're not going to go into because it's sponsored by Carabao. This is littered with storylines, guys. This is so exciting. Stewart, take me into the mind, not obviously you don't know goalkeepers that well, you know, you're not a goalkeeper, but what is going through Karius's mind this week in the lead up to this game? Because of course we know that Nick Pope got sent off, and actually some quite interesting, weird elements with the rules for suspensions. Because if the rule wasn't the way that it was, Bruno Mars wouldn't be playing in this, and we'll get on to talking about the impact that he could have. But because of the way that it is, Nick Pope finds himself out, which is heartbreaking for him. Dubravka's already played for Man United, who of course are opponents in this final. So it heads over to Karius. The torch is passed. How do you think he's feeling this week? Have you had times like that where you've not been playing for a while and then all of a sudden you're in the side? How does that feel?
Difficult, especially when you haven't probably got the manager's trust. I think that's the biggest thing. I remember a spell at Liverpool when Brendan first came in. I was out the team. Then he put me in at left back. I'd never played left back.
I remember that.
And you sort of feel like he's put me
in. That bad, was it?
It got that bad. It sort of feels like I'm getting hung out to dry. He's put me in left back, so I sort of might get roasted a little bit and not play again.
That's interesting. Does that stuff happen?
Yeah.
Honestly, at that time,
I did alright, to be fair, though.
That's great. That's great.
It proper felt that way because I can't remember. Did you come in the summer before?
I came under Kenny, so I wasn't a Brendan. Obviously, signed. He brought new players in. Not that he didn't like me, but obviously he wanted his players in the team, which is fair enough. Then they sort of didn't settle, didn't do well, and he put me back in the team. He took Enrique out and put me at left back. I say left back, but you sort of play as a winger for Brendan. It was like quite high, quite attacking, like they are now. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a good spell. I did all right, and then I sort of started to gain his trust. But I always knew playing, thinking if I don't play well, I'm out.
So as the third choice goalkeeper,
he's thinking,
do you think he's aware of his role as a third choice and wasn't really going to get a chance, so he's not too bothered about that trust element?
No, I think he's worried about the trust. You've got to think of where he's come from, Liverpool, big club, and how it's happened. He's coming, and I think he looks like a character to me where he looks not arrogant, but he's quite confident in himself. I think he's thinking I'm probably...
I would be if I looked like him, to be honest.
Yeah. I think he probably still thinks I'm probably the best keeper at Newcastle. 100%. I think keepers they have strong minds, better than probably outfield players. Like you say, when I came at the team, I've got players around me. If I make a mistake, and help me out. You make a mistake as a keeper, you've seen generally it's going in the back of your net. So they're quite different thinkers, I think, to outfield players. But he's got to be nervous this week. There's no dressing that will be. He has to be nervous. He's not played for a long time. Like you said, he's not got the backing probably of the manager. He'll spin it obviously, and he probably knows a player that he'll have to do that because he's playing. But he has to be nervous. But I think in the game, once you get your first. Could be the first catch, first save, confidence will. But if he makes a mistake early on, it's going to be very difficult for him.
Even if he'd sort of put that all to bed, it just comes rushing back out, doesn't it? Because of people like us talking about it.
Yeah, which he's probably hoping there's no YouTube titles or anything about Karius, but he's going to have to face the music at some point. I think the whole week, I imagine it's the same in Newcastle and all the local papers that they've got Karius in net. Further spin to that, by the way, Dubravka will get a winner's medal if United win it, which is absolute madness because I don't know how that works. Does he have to wait at the end and they go, "Do you just want to pop over and give you a medal?"
Take your kit off and put
just send it to me. Just send it to me.
Yeah. I do worry for Karius because I think this is a situation where we've seen Ten Hag exploit other teams' weaknesses. And I think he's going to say, put a few crosses in. And I think the first corner will be one of those, when you go away against Burnley and they surround the keeper and you're going, this is a goal. Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it.
Sure.
So I think, Newcastle will have a big problem in that regard. But one thing I will say is he might be looking at this thinking, this goes to pens or anything like that. I could be a hero. Like, it could galvanise my career. So it really depends how he's seeing it because he didn't have a good time at Besiktas or Union Berlin. So now he's in this situation where he's going, this is basically do or die, really. So may as well go for it.
I think when you talk about the first touch, all those things, I think that is the thing for him. He needs to think first 20 minutes. Let's get through the first 20 minutes and then you kind of move on from there. Because then once you do get to the sort of latter stages, and if it does go to extra time, which you could easily see this game going to extra time, couldn't you? Yep. Two strong defences. I think Man United got 10 clean sheets this season. Newcastle got the best defence in the league. if it does get to that point, I mean, that would be the lovely spin if Karius can kind of make some saves, then he's feeling good.
Oh, you best believe the week after we'll be making a video going, he's one of the best keepers in the world, this kid.
Yeah. And that's where he's got to play. That's where he's got to start. Further up the pitch, Newcastle have been struggling a little bit. Struggling's a funny one, isn't it? Because they lost for only the second time in the Premier League, but they'd drawn a few before that.
Yeah.
Do you think that? Do you think the confidence is waning a little bit within that squad, or were they sort of just a bit too aware of kind of where they could be going in the Premier League, and actually they can park that and just enjoy this as a cup final?
I'll be honest, I went to the game the weekend and they started really well. They were really, really good. The crowd was up. Obviously, it was a big day with Sir Bobby and stuff like that going on in the background, and it was. But as soon as sort of Liverpool scored and started to string a few passes together, you could see the little bit of a dip. They got a bit tired. Obviously, Liverpool can tire out with the ball. The crowd went a bit low, and I just looked at them and I looked at the bench and just thought they're probably not strong enough to keep going. They've had a fantastic season. I think Eddie would have probably thought if we get into Europe, maybe top 7, that would be a fantastic season. Where he is now I think he's overachieving.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. But I think he's probably think just keep going as long as we can. But if he gets them into top 7, 8, and they win that final, they've had a fantastic season from what they came from. They're not going to make top 4. I've just seen little signs at like I say, the weekend of tiredness. They started a young kid in midfield for the first time again, a massive game against Liverpool. You can see they're starting to get injuries and little things are going on like that. So, yeah, but they've had a great season. But I just think they'll start to just slowly just win. Like you said, they're picking a lot of draws up, not winning as many games. And
that ability to get over the line. Right? So when we get onto the key players for this one player coming back from suspension in Bruno Mars, does that give Newcastle a real chance in a game which I think generally they would be the underdogs?
Yeah, I think the thing that coincides with their poor form is actually Bruno Guimaraes' injury. I don't think they've won since he's been out. So I think they've just lacked a player who's got, for the lack of a better word, technical quality in midfield. I think they've been very dogged in midfield all season with Joe Linton, Sean Longstaff. I think what they often do is they'll get the ball at the back and they'll go, "Where's Bruno? Can I get it into?" You've got that player who you just know can keep the ball for you. He's secure, so they zip it into him. He makes it tick, and then suddenly the whole team goes, relax. That he's gone to the right man. I think at the moment, even in the Liverpool game, it's sort of going to Joe Linton, who does look shattered, and they're giving the ball away, and there's too many turnovers. I think United have the most turnovers this season, or it's right up there. And that's kind of how Ten Hag likes to play his football. They'll pinch the ball and get Rashford on the run. So I think Bruno will be massive for them in that sense. And also, the other thing I've seen during this period is he wins a lot of fouls for them. And Kieran Trippier's delivery is as good as anyone. So they've been sort of lacking with their set-piece opportunities because he's been out. So I think they've got a few factors in there where you go, they might have a chance. But I also wonder as well, maybe their bad form comes from, maybe they're going, we've got a final coming. And we really want to get to this final because they'll know there's a whole history. And if you win a final...
You see it all the time, don't you, as well? Yeah, when a sort of non-league club gets to the FA Cup third round, they're like, the league form just falls off a cliff for a second because everyone's, desperate to play in that final. I think that is a huge part of it. I think Bruno Mars is so important in this game because, like you say, I think he just provides... Certain centre midfielders provide that force field where you kind of go, I know you've got it, you're fine, and then you stretch out, and then you're a better team, and you're able to unlock the opposition. His chance creation as well is really impressive from where he's playing as a 6 a lot of the time. He's that good. For Man United, 2 things I think are important here. First of all, the game against Barcelona in the week, is that going to affect team selection? Because they're both obviously very, very important. And then the second one I think is those big hitters and where you play Rashford. Rashford's been playing a little bit on the left-hand side, Bruno Fernandes on the right-hand side. It's been working. Is that something that you would do, or would you pin him against Trippier on that left-hand side to try and keep him honest? How would you use Marcus Rashford in this one, Stuart?
From the left, I seen something in the Liverpool game the other day with Darwin Núñez playing from that left, and when Alisson was picking the ball up, they were off. They were running behind, even Salah from the other side, because Newcastle, Trippier obviously plays a little bit higher than probably Dan Burn did. Like you said, with his delivery, and I think they might target that space just in behind, in that inside channel. So I think just the form he's in, I think it doesn't probably matter who he's playing against at the minute. I think he could create some out of nothing, but I just think Trippier is very good going forward. Defensively, he's not I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but he's not the strongest. It's
not always his focus, is it? He's trying to offer something offensively.
Yeah.
Do you think it is copy and paste with that in terms of Rashford and how they use him?
Well, I think in the Liverpool game, you saw Nunez sort of came inside in that sort of like Sadio Mane inverted forward type position, which is kind of where Rashford gets most of his joy. So Trippier will stay wide. That's how he defends as well. He doesn't tend to tuck inside. So I think that will allow Rashford to have this big gaping hole where they'll probably get most of the profits. But also, he's the most informed player on the pitch. The one player you don't change is probably him. You might change that right-hand side. You might change the number 10. You might change centre forward. You don't change the one man in form, because if you're a fullback, you've played there, the last thing you want is a winger who's in incredible form coming up against you.
Yeah, if Trippier sees Rashford starting from the left, he's thinking, oh no. If he moves him to, say, central number 10, he's thinking, I'll take that. I'll take, whoever's playing on the left. I'm not really bothered, but it just sort of strikes of his stats, his name, he's guaranteed to score. Trippier's probably thinking, don't want him running at me for 90 minutes. He's probably liable to score. I'm going to get the blame. And when you see the Liverpool goals and Trent's clipping in behind, it's always in behind the right back and the centre half. Nunez was getting in and Gakpo, so they'll definitely be targeting that. But like you said, why would you move him? He's in so much good form.
Yeah, to take it one step back from that, it's getting the ball. It's who's getting the ball to Rashford. Bruno Fernandes has been really, really important in that. I think it was seven key passes in the last game, 2 assists. He's actually deserved a lot more assists than he's got this year. 17 big chances he's created, only 6 assists. So players like him, players like Martinez. You talk about Joe Linton saying he's really tired, I think he's got a really important part to play, because if you can stop that right-hand side and stop the ball even getting to Bruno Fernandes, who's probably going to play out there, then you kind of give yourselves a chance of making history in what is a tournament that I think in 5-6 years Newcastle fans will be like another final, but it just feels so special.
It's got to start somewhere. I think once you win one, and I've not been a player, but I imagine you win one and you go, we're actually all right,
and I like that, right?
Like, I like that feeling, which is kind of what's happened at City. It nearly happened at Liverpool last year, where they were going, we can win 4, because you get greedy. Because then it's funny, because when you're the team that's winning it, you go, like United this season with Scholes, they're going quadruple. If it's someone else, you're going, that trophy doesn't count. It's not a quadruple.
Yeah.
Do you see Newcastle winning this though?
I don't know, I'm a romantic.
They've got a chance.
Yeah, I think they have got a chance. I think it's really helpful to have that Barcelona game, because that's sort of the mental side of that. In a game that finished 2-2 in the first leg, that could easily go to extra time.
Yeah.
And that's a lot for them to have to deal with and turn around to play again on Sunday against, I think, a Newcastle's side that will, regardless of if they're tired or not, will be so pumped with adrenaline, with the fans coming down to Wembley as well. It feels special to me. I think Newcastle might sneak it.
Finals are hard as well. I remember, you probably remember this game, we played Cardiff in the Carabao Cup final, and everyone was, Liverpool win this 5-0, 4-0, their championship team, we're sort of being bought for 100 odd million, all these players. They took us to penalties. We missed the first 2. They scored late on in the game, could have won it. Kenny Miller had a massive chance at 2-2. You're thinking, where's this 5-0 game? They're difficult games. They sort of, like I say, it's a knockout game, is it? Whoever plays well on the day. We actually played all right in the day, but Cardiff were really good. They turned up and give us a hard game. But that's why I don't think it's just an automatic Man United win this game. Things could happen in the game. You just don't know how Man United are going to get affected by that. So
I'm going to go. I'm going to go a cheeky it could be pens, yeah.
Karius to win it.
Karius with go on. Newcastle to win it on pens. Joe Linton with the winning penalty.
Wow.
And Karius with a couple of saves. That's what I'm going to go for.
I'm a Middlesbrough fan, and I'd like to see Newcastle win it. Just because.
Wow.
Careful.
Yeah, I know. I might get shut down for this, but I just think they've been through a lot of them. 15 years of the ownership and what's happened. And I went there the weekend. The atmosphere was amazing. It was a bit like an Anfield type of night when the Europeans, really good fans, backed them for years after year. 50,000 even in the Championship when they were there. I think Eddie's done a great job. I do think Man United will win it, but it would be nice for the North East to get a trophy.
I'm gonna go. I think if it goes to penalties, it'll be hilarious, because De Gea is a terrible penalty stopper. We don't even know what
he's not a good taker either, didn't he? This one in that.
Yeah.
So I think United will win it. Manchester United, that is. I think it's one thing Ten Hag's done really well, is almost like kill the emotion in every game and just get the job done. And I think they'll just get the job done and probably score early and then play the final out and maybe win 2-0.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.